Hello, welcome to Dumagetti IELTS. Task 1, reading writing lessons. And in the first of a series of writing lesson videos, we're going to look at different aspects of Task 1 writing. This lesson is about how to paraphrase the title. And of course, you can use paraphrasing for other aspects of your writing. So let's continue. As you can see, I've got a couple of task 1 essay graphs. We have bar chart and a table. So let's begin. Okay, so when you commence writing your task 1 essay, the first thing you will have to do is paraphrase the title of the essay. So this is after your planning, not right away. First, you have to decide everything you're going to write and your planning. But when you actually pick up your pen to start writing the essay, this is the first thing you're going to do. So paraphrasing involves using different words and expressions to give the same meaning. So you're changing the vocabulary and the grammar and other aspects, but you're not changing the meaning of the title. So I have several steps that I use, that I give students to use, and we're going to look at them now. So there are several steps which I advise you to follow to make it easier. The first thing is to read the title and then look at the words you cannot change because you have to use them. You can't change them, so they have to stay in the title. So just make a note. When you're practicing, you can do this when you're practicing paraphrasing titles. Go and look at the words that you can't change and just write them down on the side or underline them or something. Okay, then look at the words you can change because you're going to have to focus on them. The third thing you should do is break the title down into chunks. Now, this depends on your level, of course. The lower the level, the more chunks. The higher the level, the less chunks. You'll understand what I mean shortly. Use different methods to paraphrase, and I'm going to be explaining a few of those methods. Okay. So we're going to use a sample bar chart about education to walk you through the process. So here's our bar chart, which is about full and part-time education of male and females in England through 3 different time periods. Okay, so the title is, the chart below shows the number of men and women in further education in Britain in 3 periods and whether they were studying full-time or part-time. So this is a task 1 bar chart about students. So the first thing we're going to look at in the title is the things we cannot change. Usually they are numbers, dates, specific names. Most of the things we can change. So I've highlighted the chart because it's a chart. You can't change that. Britain can be changed, but it's one of those that's a bit more difficult. Education can be changed, but again, it depends on your level. If you're a higher level student, you could probably change that. If you're a lower level student, it will be more difficult. And the same with Britain. Full and part-time, generally, they can't be changed because it's just one of those things. We talk about work, we talk about study, we talk about many things. These are the 2 expressions that tell us whether you work 8 hours a day or 3 hours a day. So it's kind of something we don't need to change. So underneath in the blue are all the things we can change. Shows, we should always change the first verb. the number of men, women, further, 3 periods, whether they were studying. So these are the main vocabulary words that we're going to look at. Do not focus on prepositions because you can fill them in yourself. And you don't really need to change prepositions unless you're changing the grammar. So you can use them within the expressions. And as I said, create expressions. Do not do each word individually. That's almost impossible because phrases are a part of sentences and you can't break a title down to individual words. Okay. Methods of paraphrasing. Word formation. Changing the word from one form to another. Sad to sadness. Sad is an adjective, sadness is a noun. Same word, different form. Word reversal. Changing the order of the words. Men and women in education, or you could say the education of men and women. So again, this is something where you'll have to know your prepositions. So we've changed in to of. Okay, so there are little things like that, but practice will help you. Passive to active sentences. The chart shows active. Something is shown in the chart. Passive. Change your tense. Were studying, studied. Synonyms, of course. Men can become males, for example. Women, females. Paraphrasing. Different words with the same meaning. The number of could also be described. The figures for. Figures are numbers. Yes, so we could do it that way. So now you've got some different methods, which of course, you'll have to investigate and practice and have a decent level of grammar to be able to do this. We're going to move on. So what we're going to do now is divide our title into chunks. And as you can see, all my chunks are color-coded. So we have the chart below shows the number of men and women in further education in Britain in 3 periods and whether they were studying full-time or part-time. So there's all our chunks. And again, as I said before, it all depends on your level. So please don't look at this and say, it's too many, it's too easy. That means your level is slightly higher, but I have students who this is perfect for. A lot of students, this is perfect for. They find it more comfortable to do, which is why I'm using this as my example. So now we begin to use the techniques we learned to break it down. The chart provides, gives, displays. So we change the verb. Information about, okay. Or you don't really have to do that. You could say displays the number of, provides, gives the number of. We change the verb. Okay, the number of, the amount of, the figures for, the data for. We've changed the expression, the number of, to one of these. Men and women, males and females, male and female students, both genders, students of both genders. So lots of changes you can do there. Changing nouns. In further education, now we said that we're not going to change education. We could change it to schooling, but we don't need to. We've got enough words that we're changing. In higher education, in tertiary education, we're changing the adjective here from further to higher or to tertiary. In Britain, in Great Britain. Britain is short for Great Britain, so you could change it by adding great. The UK and Great Britain are actually different. Great Britain is 3 countries, England, Wales and Scotland. The UK is 4 countries. It's England, Wales, Scotland plus Northern Ireland. So technically they're not the same, but for the exam, I'm not quite sure if the examiner would accept that, because really they are different. But I've put it down just in case, and I'm going to try to find out if it's possible. Because a lot of the questions, because the exam is devised by the British Council, a lot of the questions relate to, or a proportion of the questions relate to the UK. So I think it would be a good thing to find out. In 3 periods is the next one, over 3 different years, in 3 time spans. So here I've changed the expression. And whether, we just changed it to if. Change the conjunction. I think actually that's an adverb, not a conjunction, but we've changed whether to if. Those 2 things are generally interchangeable. There are times when you cannot change it. You have to use whether or if, but generally they're interchangeable. And they were studying, past continuous, they studied. And also I've joined these 2 together, whether they were part-time or full-time students, okay? Because we haven't got students here, whether they were studying full-time or part-time, or whether they were part-time or full-time students. So it's got different variations. So what I've done is now I've provided 3 different versions of the title from our chunks. So all I've done is join the chunks together, and we get a paraphrased version of the title where the meaning must stay the same. The chart below displays information about the number of male and female students in tertiary education in Britain over 3 different years, and if they studied part-time or full-time. The chart below provides data regarding the number of both genders in higher education in the UK over 3 one-year periods. And if they were full-time or part-time students. The chart below gives figures for males and females in higher education in Britain. Again, we've changed a lot, so sometimes we can leave words as they are, over 3 time spans, and states whether they were studying full or part-time. So all of those 3 sentences have exactly the same meaning, but as you can see, they're all different. Okay. So the final results are 3 paraphrased titles using a mixture of vocabulary, word formation, changed expressions, and changed tenses. In the exam, you only have around 5 minutes to plan your essay, so don't waste too much time on the title. If you can't think of a way to change something, move on. Spend between 1 to 2 minutes on this. It's essential to practice this technique to increase your speed and efficiency at paraphrasing. And remember, paraphrasing will help you in other areas of the exam. The exam is based on paraphrasing and synonyms. The reading, the writing, the speaking, the listening, all of it is based on those 2 things. So it's a good skill to have. For the scoring in the exam, it's better to try and change as much as you can, but if you're not at that level, then keep the words you find too difficult and change the ones you can using the methods you know. Alternatively, you can practice this method using different titles until you feel comfortable. Only attempt what you know you can do. Do not try anything new in the exam. Oops. Sorry. Okay, so that's the end of the video. Sorry, I just flipped to the thing by mistake. So please subscribe to our channel. I will be adding some of these videos to our courses, but if they're not in the courses, you can always just hop onto YouTube, find our channel. There'll be plenty of links to the channel, and just watch the videos to hopefully supplement your online coursework. Thank you for your time, and see you in the next video.